Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Think and Grow Rich live mastermind show. My name is Dr. Peter A. James, and I welcome you all early Saturday morning, every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, to a show where myself and my co-host and a special guest usually dive into this phenomenal book, Think and Grow Rich. And today is no different. Of course, we're going into chapter 3 of this great book, this well-known book of Think and Grow Rich, which is Autosuggestion. Autosuggestion. And this Saturday is like no other, as we have a very special guest who has a very robust background and knows this text, knows this book so well. So we're going to mastermind with her this morning. But it's not all about me this morning. I usually have some co-hosts with me, Galen Bingham, Ursula Odom, and McNeil. Galen's not here this morning with us. So without further ado, I want to bring in one of my co-hosts, my angels, of course. Let's start out with Ursula Odom. Ursula, good morning to you. How are you doing today?
I'm absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Peter. And I'm so looking forward to today's show because I had an opportunity to meet with the guests and I heard the pre-show. Oh my goodness, I can't wait. Can't
Yeah,
wait.
we have to tease the guest. Her name is Rhonda Stevens Grayer, and she has a very robust background, has a company that I'm ready to dive into to find out how she has achieved success. But Ursula, it's going to be a great show for sure. But
Absolutely.
we have another angel with us, though. That is Miss Ann McNeil. Miss Ann McNeil, good morning to you.
Good morning. I'm excited to be one of Peter's angels.
That would make me Bosley. Is that what it is, right?
It's exciting, Peter. It's exciting.
Good stuff. I'm dating myself by saying that out loud for sure. But again, excited to be here with you all this morning. I want to tease auto-suggestion a little bit with both of you really quick. Let's just start off with Ursula. Ursula, when I say that word auto-suggestion to you right off the top, what does that mean to you, just that word by itself?
Well, I was thinking about this in preparing for today, and I realized that one of the things that I think of myself is impulsive.
Mm.
But when I read page 70, and we can go into that in greater detail later, but really I don't think it is. What it amounts to is that I plan the things that I want,
Mm.
pack it away in my head, and every day I'm looking for the confirmation of I found it, I see it, I want it, I'll do it. And so auto suggestion is taking on just a slight different connotation in my life. So I'm looking forward to exploring what it really means in greater detail to everybody else.
And Ursula, I'm excited to talk with you about it because I want to talk to you about all of these different principles in this book. So I'll come right back to you in a little bit. So let's put a tab in that or a bookmark or whatever we want to call it. And McNeil, when I say auto-suggestion, what comes to mind immediately?
Actually, honestly, the self-confidence formula is what comes to mind immediately when you say the word auto-suggestion, because the power of the repetition and the power of the concentration with the emotion on the words, whether it's an affirmation or whatever it is that we choose. Oftentimes it may even be a prayer. And so I'm just excited when I hear when you hear that question. But for me, it is concentration and the self-confidence formula that comes to mind.
That's awesome. That's all. And those of you who are watching and listening, if you never heard of that word auto-suggestion, I'll read the first few sentences of chapter 3 of Think and Grow Rich. And it says, auto-suggestion is a term which applies to all suggestions and all self-administered stimuli which reach one's mind through the 5 senses. It is stated in another way, it is self-suggestion, an agency of communication between that part of the mind where conscious thought takes place and that which serves as the seats of action for the subconscious mind. Oh, we're going deep today, ladies and gentlemen. And because of that, I want to bring in our distinguished guest today, Rhonda Stevens Grayer, who is the president of W.T. Stevens Construction Incorporated. And Rhonda, good morning to you first and foremost. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm doing awesome today. Just awesome.
So excited to have you with us. You're the president of W.T. Stevens. You have a robust background. Tease the audience a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do, if you don't mind.
So again, I'm Rhonda Grayer, president of W.T. Stevens Construction. And we are a underground utility and infrastructure and demolition company out of Flint, Michigan. And you just want a teaser, so I'm just going to give you a little bit. One of the things the most notable things that we've done is that we were part of the team that remediated the lead contaminated pipes from the city of Flint, Michigan.
Well, very important work. It sounds like you're doing there, Rhonda. So thank you so much in advance for that. Thank you for that tease, because we might come back to that a little bit as well. And also find out how you've been able to achieve success through this book, Think and Grow Rich, for sure. But this book that I've been mentioning quite a few times, Think and Grow Rich, has been a staple in society for decades, almost a century to a certain extent. And Ursula, many people don't know about these 13 principles, these 13 chapters that are contained in this book. And they're so important because even those who have been successful and are not aware of the book probably exercise a lot of these principles. So Ursula, do you mind introducing them?
Oh, sure. Because one of the things that we realize is that each one of these chapters can be life-changing in and of themselves. However, they're a part of a big master plan and a result of a great deal of study and analyzation of what success really is. So we're talking about autosuggestion today, but it's a part of a grand scheme of things that we're about to share with you, all 13 steps.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the MasterMind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, Everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of Step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Those were the 13 steps, the 13 chapters of this phenomenal book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And if you notice, of course, autosuggestion is just one of these principles that encompasses this book, but we just happen to be diving into this today. And what I love about this autosuggestion, this medium for influencing the subconscious mind, there are a variety of ways that we can impact our brains, impact our subconscious minds. And for me, it may look like affirmations, words that I'm saying over and over again in order to impact my brain so that I can have improved actions and behaviors. But I want to bring Rhonda back into this conversation for sure and ask her, Rhonda, you have done a lot in your career as it relates to getting to the point where you are right now, to get to a place where you own a construction organization and you're doing the great work you are doing right now in Flint. Tell us a little bit about that journey in order to get to right where you are right now. And I think you are on mute.
Am I on mute?
Okay, now I hear you.
Okay. So my journey in I'll just say that we were very out of the crisis of the lead contamination in the city of Flint. Opportunity was born for W.T. Stevens. We've been around for 18 years. We're a second generation company. My dad was a sole proprietor. We're a family owned business. I have 6 brothers and sisters that work feverishly in this business with me. But one of the things that just with respect to auto suggestion, this was really, really deep for me. Mm-hmm. Because it was more for me. It was more than just telling myself something to be true. I had to break down, all that I had programmed myself to believe for, the last, 40 or 50 mm-hmm. years of programming that I had to start to break down to reprogram myself to become, the new person that I am, to create the new expectations for myself and the new beliefs and the new faith, and to suggest something to my new mind. I had to release what was old in my mind first. And so this has been, for me, this has been a journey in finding myself. This is about, emotions, feelings, my belief, my faith, my spiritual life has changed as a result of, autosuggestion. I'm so excited about, what Think and Grow Rich has meant to my life and to my future. More than my life is more of my future, of where I see myself going as a result of digging in to each chapter. Autosuggestion was the chapter that allowed me to start to break down the barriers that I had built up in my mind that was preventing me from even achieving greater things.
Yeah, good stuff. Wow, thank you. You went deep right away, and I appreciate that overall. No, that's great. That's actually good because what you just described is what many of us experience or face in our lives, and this is what I mean by that. We are carrying lies. We are carrying disempowering beliefs or self-limiting beliefs that we've carried, that have been transferred to us through our families, through generations, through decades, that may not necessarily be true. And it sounds like that you've been able to utilize auto-suggestion to help break those down in your life. And again, I can even speak for myself in that, what self-limiting beliefs that I have that have been transferred to me, that may have been transferred to me innocently, that I need to get rid of in order to experience success as I define it. And that sounds like exactly what the journey that you've been on to a certain extent there, Rhonda. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely. So I guess I didn't realize until I dug deep into the chapter on autosuggestion that I lacked the self-confidence that was necessary to move me forward. And so when you don't realize something, you can't fix something or change something that you don't even realize is there. So, we move about our lives every day, just trying to, take care of ourselves and, achieve our dreams, but never really looking at, what might be preventing us from achieving our dreams. And so breaking down those barriers and coming to the realization that I didn't really have the self-confidence that I thought I had, because when I look deep within, just going back from the time that I was 5 or 6 years old, coming to the realization of all the things that I had beat myself up for and continue to beat myself up for, the mistakes that I had made that I, continue to, rehash over and over again. Instead of rehashing positive things and rehashing moving forward, I was rehashing the mistakes that I made and creating fear in my life from moving forward.
Wow. That's all I can say, really, that one. Wow. Before I pass the baton over to the two angels in waiting, my question to you is about when you were introduced to this book. And do you remember your first few experiences with this book? Because if it's like me, it took me a few reads to really realize, like, wow, this is some earth-shattering stuff. So how were you introduced to Think and Grow Rich?
So my sister had read the book about, maybe 25 years ago. And, she had, told me about the book and bought me a copy. But, I started it, maybe read the first, few pages or first chapter, and then I put it down and did not pick it up for maybe another 20 years until about 2 years ago. And then I'm a member of the National Association of Black Women in Construction, and our fearless leader is Ann McNeil, and she reintroduced me to the book and to masterminding. And then I was able to, really, fully read the book and start to dig into the concepts in the book and start to apply them to my life.
And it's funny, that Ann McNeil, I think she's somewhere floating around here for sure. So we'll definitely talk to her soon. But it's interesting when you are able to dive in, embrace, and digest these concepts in this book, they really can come to life. And it sounds like that's what you have experienced there, Rhonda. So thank you so much for sharing. I want to bring Ursula Odom into the conversation. Ursula, we are talking so much about this auto-suggestion, and it sounds like Rhonda has really lived this book. And especially in these last few years, it's really helped her become even more successful. What questions do you have for Rhonda there, Ursula?
Well, actually, I want to read something from page 70 and then ask the question, because when you talked about the self-confidence, you and Ann talked about the self-confidence formula, and I realized that when I said impulsive, that there are words that cause self-confidence to either increase or decrease. And by labeling myself as impulsive, that denies the fact that that is actually a positive thing. I can make a decision. So that was eroding my self-confidence as such. So what made me think about that was on page 70, it says, do not wait for a definite plan through which you intend to exchange services or merchandise in return for the money you are visualizing, but begin at once to see yourself in possession of the money, demanding and expecting, meanwhile, that your subconscious mind will hand over the plan or plans you need. Be on alert for these plans, and when they appear, put them into action immediately. When the plans appear, they will probably flash into your mind through the sixth sense in the form of inspiration. This inspiration may be considered a direct telegram or message from the infinite intelligence. Treat it with respect and act upon it as soon as you receive it. Failure to do so will be fatal to your success. And so the reason I bring that up is because one time I was working on an exhibit at the fair, and I went away at lunchtime and bought a car and came back. And the person said to me, how do you do that? Because I had already decided what I wanted, how I wanted. And when that opportunity presented itself, I went, did it, and came back. So, Rhonda, my question for you is, what are the impulsive moments that you've had in your life that really were a master plan from the subconscious that you put there?
So what in the chapter on autosuggestion has allowed me to do is to be able to focus on that thing that I really want to do and start to shave away and carve away all of the excess things that are in my mind that have habits that have been formed. We're reading Augmandino, and so I'm going to say that, you know, just inside of my mind there were just tons of bad habits, and so shaving away those bad habits has allowed me to focus. And when you can focus, you know, things that come into your existence, you immediately recognize that those are a piece of the puzzle to the master plan that you're creating in your mind with autosuggestion. So as you start to carve away, then you bring more things into your mind. You allow it's as if you don't have the space to take in what you need to take in for your success. But as you carve away and shave out things that are unnecessary, they create the space that you need to take in the new things that are going to be part of your success, that are part of your success plan for success.
Thank you.
Good question about impulses there, Ursula. You made me actually reflect on even the words that we use. And Rhonda, these impulses, when autosuggestion is put into our lives, when we practice autosuggestion, as Ursula has mentioned, impulses are not really impulses as we think about them. They are more of a reflection of the autosuggestion, whatever the case may be. So a good example of this, I think Ursula had mentioned it, or somebody in this conversation already has mentioned in my mind is kind of running here, is that sometimes we speak negativity into our lives and we don't even know it. So you've heard me say angels quite a few times on this show already. Why am I saying angels? Because a few weeks back, I introduced my counterparts here, my guests on this show, as partners in crime. And Miss Ann McNeil, of course, was quick to say, hey, don't say partners in crime, because what is that? What are those words? Words are powerful. What do those words really mean? Partners in crime. Here's another thing that I used to say all the time. I'm grinding, I'm hustling. And what does that really mean in its context? Grinding and hustling. I don't want to use those types of words to describe what I do, what are more powerful, more important, impactful words that we can implement into our daily vocabulary? And it sounds like both Rhonda, both you and Ursula have been able to do that successfully. So that's maybe a question I have before we go over to the master builder, Ann McNeil. Rhonda, what are some powerful words that you implement into your life to make sure that you stay in the right frame of mind?
So one of the things that I've done, and this is very recently that I've done, is I wake up every morning and I say that I'm going to have love in my heart today. And so as I say that, it makes me have a positive attitude throughout the whole day. So because I know that in order for me to keep love in my heart, I have to have a positive attitude. So I wake up and in my responses to, problems that I encounter are different. My responses to people are different. And not only is this, and I won't go farther because just in case you guys are going to ask me a question, but this has like totally changed my spiritual walk, my spiritual life as well. Because when you add those positive things to your vocabulary, you become those positive things.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so great. Positivity. How are we injecting positivity into our lives, even just through our words, speaking words to ourselves? One of the things I failed to do since we've been on the show this morning, I have not been able to welcome in our audience. I did not specifically welcome in our audience on Facebook Live, on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen who are watching or listening, please feel free to make any comments. Please feel free to ask any questions. We are monitoring these chats and want to make sure that we introduce you to our special guest. But without further ado, I want to bring in the master builder, almost the brainchild behind everything that you see on this show. And Ann McNeil, this auto-suggestion conversation is so impactful for a number of different reasons. And Ursula and Rhonda have really identified what that looks like in their lives. I would love to bring you into the conversation, especially as it relates to Rhonda and her journey.
Wow, Rhonda and her journey. Good morning, Rhonda. It's so wow. I think you already know that you, in my mind, are really the picture of the impact of what autosuggestion really is. And the reason I say that is because of watching your transformation as you journey. And you shared something with me yesterday, and I'm going to ask you during the show if you feel comfortable. You text me something, and I'm going to ask you later if you feel comfortable sharing that with the audience. I think that when I think of autosuggestion and I think of the portion of the book that requires us to go back to chapter 1 on desire. And Napoleon Hill asks us, basically, he says, in the 4th step and the 5th step and the 6th step of the 6 steps to riches, he asks us to recite twice a day your affirmation statement, once upon arising in the morning and once upon retiring at night. Then he even goes even further and he says, when you do this, think about doing it with such power and concentration. And I just reread this and just saw this word for the first time in all the years of reading it. He said, close your eyes. Close your eyes and visualize with emotion what you're reading and what you're saying and what you're reciting, and feel and see in your imagination whatever it is you're desiring already fulfilled. So with that backdrop and that backstory, Rhonda, I'd like if you would share with us one example of something that has manifested or is manifesting as a result of your utilizing this principle of autosuggestion to bring into existence. Now, it does not have to be money, because really what I'm looking at, and what I'm looking to, and what I'm feeling is really a transformation in your spirit, in your heart, and your mind. But what is one example, if you could share, of the impact of this principle?
Okay, so I have several, but I will share one. And
Oh, we'll take several. We have
okay,
time.
so then I'll share two. So then so then one of them is just, so I've, because of how I came into to my profession, because while my dad was in business for many years, I was not a part of that, a part of that business. And so uh so as a result, I felt kind of inferior when I'm in this room with, all men, and I'm the only woman oftentimes, and the only minority oftentimes, because of the type of business that we're in. And so I felt subconsciously, I felt very inferior, like I didn't belong in the room because I didn't have enough experience and I didn't have enough knowledge. And so through the work of building my self-confidence, um I now know that I absolutely belong in the room, and everybody's knowledge level is different. And so I have come into my own in who I am, certainly based upon all the things that I had done. And I never looked at the things that I had done as, with respect to the business, with remediation of the pipes and providing opportunities for people. I never looked at, the things that I was able to do as as accomplishments. I just did the work. And so as a result of auto-suggestion and masterminding, I've been able to look at them and myself very differently. And it has certainly helped to build my self-confidence, which I didn't, again, I say that I didn't realize that I was lacking it, significantly lacking it. But I'm a completely different person now when I'm in those spaces where I might feel like I'm the only one there, or someone else might have more knowledge or experience than I do. I feel very differently when I'm in those rooms. And something else that has happened to me is that my spiritual walk and my faith has significantly increased, because you can't do the work and progress from the work of autosuggestion if you don't have faith. And your faith and your belief are highly important to to being able to effectively tell your subconscious that you have the self-confidence necessary, that you will make whatever or amount of money that you said you're going to make, or whatever that thing is that you want to do. Your faith and your belief are significantly important to that. And so as a result of the masterminding that we've been able to do, I've been able to build my self-confidence and increase my faith. And so it's, I feel like a completely different person. I feel like I'm on a new journey. And I will tell you that I was really burned out, after we completed this project that we were on for 5 years, and I was really ready for retirement. And then I fall into masterminding, and now not only do I not feel like it's time for retirement, but I feel like I have a new opportunity. I feel refreshed. I feel new, ready to once again take on the world. So I think that this was just so important to my life. And I'll tell another quick story, is that in 2001 I had this dream about bubbles in my life. It was when my dad again died in 2002. And so it's when I first started to think about how I was going to do this thing. And so I had this dream, and in this dream I had bubbles all around me, and I was unable to bust those bubbles. And so it was a very frustrating thing for me. And so this was all in the dream. And as I start to relate that dream to my current existence, God is giving me, through my work on autosuggestion, the keys to bursting those bubbles. And I can see those bubbles are bursting as I'm here talking to you. And I've seen many of them come to fruition, just as, as we're speaking right here and now. So The masterminding and Think and Grow Rich has been, life changing for me.
Wow. I really like to have you share. Someone share with me. I host a show on Sundays called hashtag I am Riviera Beach. I'm born and raised in Riviera Beach, and I decided to do a show to highlight and spotlight all of the people who were born in the city that are doing okay and giving back. And one of the co-hosts said to me, he said, but it's great that we do this, but the listeners really want to know how. How do you go from point A to point B, and then from point B to point C, and from point C to point D to eventually get to Z, if that's your desire? So I think it's also important that we not only just share the journey, but the how. And so my question to you is, if you would share your actions in showing up on the Friday Think and Grow Rich accountability calls, where we all get a minute to share our aha from the reading, and that helps us to slowly transition, because it's one thing to come on here and we have a lot of people listening to this podcast, but they may not really understand the journey. It's a day-to-day journey. So if you would be so kind to share with us your journey on that Friday, and we're going to ask Brittany if you put the link in the chat, because we want to invite people to join us every Friday morning. We're live on the Think and Grow Rich Facebook group, but also each individual calls in if they want to say something. They can. A lot of people just listening, but I know, Rhonda, you've been on that journey on Fridays, and I've heard your transition over the years. And would you be please share with our listeners in that experience?
So one of the things that, one of the negative things that I've told myself over the years is that that I'm shy and I don't like to speak in front of people. So what those Friday calls have done for me is to allow me to release that negative thought that I had about myself for years and years. And so it also allows me to, oftentimes we get so busy. Well, this is me. You're so busy that you're just, doing. And oftentimes we don't get to think deeply about ourselves and the journey that we're on. But those Friday calls have allowed me to think deeply about the experience that I'm having and to be able to effectively communicate that experience. So I'm communicating what I'm feeling and what I'm going through. And so it's also giving me I'm journaling, as I'm going through this process, because those Friday calls are allowing me to do that, because it's making me think deeply about what I'm doing and what I'm going through and how it's impacting my life and even how my life is changing. So now I'm able to journal how my life is changing. Never been really a journaler before. But now I'm able to do that because I'm thinking deeply about it, because I've got to communicate it every Friday on the phone, and I've got to communicate it in a fashion such that, the listeners can understand what I'm going through. So it has been, for me, it has, I feel like I've, kind of been I wanted something in life, and in order for me to get what I wanted, I needed to be able to come out of the shell. And so it is allowing me to, crack that shell and come out of the shell and, display the self-confidence that I have.
All right. Thank you. Back to you, Peter.
And I don't want to come right back to me. I want you to actually come back to you a little bit and talk to you about the annual accountability meeting. And for those that don't know, Ann McNeil has been the brainchild to a certain extent of an annual meeting that brings individuals that you see on this call, individuals like this, to a bigger forum where we're able to set goals, hold each other accountable, but also grow towards our next level. And Anne, I want you to be able to talk about that a little bit, because I know also Rhonda has been a part of that. So I want you to see if there's any dialogue, any aha moments, even from the annual accountability meetings.
Absolutely, Peter. When I started this process in 1979 and 1980, one of the things that Napoleon Hill talked about in the back of the book, he gave a summary of questions. And he actually said, every year, you should do an assessment of your life. And then he gave a list of questions that you should answer. Well, over the years, from masterminding with a group of individuals, we started with 10, that then turned into hundreds. We realized that on an annual basis, that if we took the 10 areas of our life, we didn't start with 10, we actually started with 1, which was the money. And I'll just share personally, I found out that money means absolutely nothing if you don't have your health and your family and all of these different things that are so important. And actually, Napoleon Hill gives us enduring wealth, and it's about 12 different items, and money is right toward the bottom, if you will. So we started with 10 areas, your spiritual, and their questions that we ask. Your family, your finances, your health, your personal development, your education, your business or your career, your recreation, your creativity, and your civic area. We set goals for 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And right now I'm in my 40 plus year of doing this exercise. And so in coming together every year, and for a period of time, we would do it twice a year. And so we're going to start back doing that this year, but it will be virtual. So what I'd like to challenge all of our listeners to think about is this. Who's holding you accountable at least once a year for that which you claim is important to you? And so we host an annual meeting in January, usually the second Saturday of the year. And we all come together on a Friday night and we just have a reception. I call it a founder's reception on the Friday night. And Saturday, we invest the day in sharing at a small table, a mastermind area. Small. We did it actually this year at 3 to no more than 4 people per table. And we review your life the last 12 months. We ask you to bring your life in writing. This is not about talking about what you're going to do. This is about documenting what you plan to do and then having accountability on, did you do it or not, and why not? And then come and share. We also keep a copy of what you bring. So when you come back the next year, you get your folder back, yes, physically, and you get a chance to look at what you said. So that's the actual event, and it's held in Boca Raton at the Embassy Suites on Yamato Road. Now, this year, I will say I was pleasantly surprised because Rhonda and her sister surprised me. They did not tell me they were coming, and I actually, I was shocked. I was shocked on Friday night as we were setting up, getting ready for the registration, and in walked the two of them, and my heart leaped. It leaped for joy because their family is now, as a family, starting to do this process as a family. So, Rhonda, if you would share your experience from your first annual meeting this January, please.
Well, it was just awesome to, to listen to and, be in the presence of other people that are like-minded and are doing some of the same things that you're doing and having the same interest, and you get ideas. And just, I mean, it was just an awesome meeting for me. um One of the people that I met that has since been able to help me is Mr. Galen Bingham. And just in, I think I had a 1 hour conversation with him, and by the time we finished that conversation, I had realized something about myself that I had not known for 40 years. So, being in the presence of like-minded people is just an awesome thing. So I'm excited to, in preparation for next year's mastermind meeting. And it was just an awesome space to be in, where people you can trust, and people can help you. And it's we call it a no judgment zone. So anything that you say to somebody, nobody's going to judge you. What they're going to try and do is help you resolve any issues that you have, or help you achieve your dreams through anything that they can offer you, any example that they can set for you. So it's an awesome place to be.
I thank you.
Good stuff. And McNeil, I'm looking forward to January of 2022, so I can be in beautiful Boca Raton, Florida, at the Embassy Suites, front and center, because I did miss this past year, the live one. I did come to the virtual one. However, I'm looking forward so next year. I want to give a shout out to all the individuals who are on Facebook, who are on YouTube, the individuals like Regina dialing in from Texas. Good to see you this morning, Regina. Johnny Lloyd, thank you so much for the comments as well. One of them is the amazing visualization with the bubbles that you all spoke about earlier, for sure. Jada Williams, we see you also. Doretha, as always, we see you. Thank you so much for being a part of the show this morning. I'm actually hoping that we see all of these individuals in January, Ann McNeil, at the annual accountability meeting. And it has been such a great show this morning. We have lots of comments. Please keep the comments coming. Please keep the questions coming in, for sure. But we're getting close to the finish line. And I like to finish strong. I don't know about you all. I love to finish any conversation strong. And I want to hear about some aha moments, maybe even some reflection moments around this conversation with Rhonda as it relates to autosuggestion. And so, Ursula, I want to bring you back in. First of all, tell the audience a little bit more about who you are, how they can get in touch with you, but also, what are some aha moments around this whole auto-suggestion conversation with Rhonda? Ursula.
Thanks, Peter. Well, I am the CEO of Sula 2, and we make old new in everything we do, in that we capture, preserve, and present legacy information and give it back in the form of books, videos, legacy walls. But it's all about the story, finding out who you are, what you do, and sharing that with the world in various forms. Now, I was sitting here thinking about my aha, in fact. And honestly, it's another question for Rhonda, if you permit me to do this. I listen to Rhonda, and then I reflect on her bio. You're talking about someone who has managed, worked with, dealt with millions of dollars, saved a city, in terms of saving lives, um, relative to that Rust situation. And she's sharing with us dealing with self-confidence. And the aha part of that is that it made me realize that everybody, regardless of what we consider a level of success, is probably dealing with the same kind of issues. And it makes it very human and very real to know that you can be successful, but still have things that you have to work with, work on. And she's just laying it out there, sharing that with us. And so, Rhonda, I think that's incredible that you're that authentic, that you can do that. Um, and I think there are probably so many people out there that can gain strength from knowing that they can be doing the right things, but not have confidence in the fact that they are doing that right thing, or not, or more importantly, I think not giving themselves the appreciation for having done those right things or doing those right things. So thanks, Rhonda, for that.
Good stuff there. Thank you, Rhonda, for that. You're very awesome. You've been a phenomenal guest. Ann McNeil, we want to bring you back into the conversation. Tell the audience how we can get in touch with you, but also what are your aha moments relative to autosuggestion and our conversation with Rhonda?
Well, actually, when Rhonda when she made the statement about being in the room and not feeling adequate and not feeling like she belonged, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, felt the exact same thing over 40 years ago when I came into the construction industry. And as she was speaking, it brought up for me the reason why I created the National Association of Black Women in Construction from that experience, because I never wanted any other Black woman in particular to feel the same way and not know exactly what she said at the very end of her statement. She said, I now know that I had a lot to offer and people bring different things. And so I want to thank you, Rhonda, for that, because you blessed me in helping me understand that when we have a vision, an idea, and actually Napoleon Hill talks about, let me get it right. He talks about how ideas, and many philosophers and these people talk about how when you have ideas, everybody's not going to see them or feel them or really understand why, but they're yours. And these principles give us actually everything we need, because the skepticism is a human characteristic, to be skeptical. But by following these instructions that he's giving us in the book, and I'm going to keep going back to the first and second chapter on desire and then having the faith, you can actually begin to crystallize your desires into whatever it is that you want to have. And for us, Rhonda, that is NABWIC. And for those of us who are listening to the show, it is the International MasterMind Association, which is a place of accountability for mastermind groups. And so it just sitting here just thinking about, what if I'd quit on my ideas, the inspiration? What if? And I want to challenge each of you as you're listening to us. What if you quit on the inspiration and the idea that you have to do that which you have been called to do? He also talks about the fact that we've often heard that man is the master of his fate, earthly, if you will. And why is that? I'd like to suggest and continue to ditto what his words say. And that is because we're in control of our mind. And so, Rhonda, you just helped me really to just put that into a different perspective today, because the work that we all do, and Ursula said it, we are all working on our self-confidence and all of these principles day by day in every way at different levels. And it doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful you think you are. Focus on the autosuggestion chapter and the principle. Find a verse, find an affirmation or a statement. And if you can't find anything, go to the book and memorize the self-confidence formula. But find something that you can program your own mind to know that you really do have the ability to achieve the object of your definite purpose in life. You can reach me if you need help with that. You can reach me by texting the word "and," that's ANN, at 55678. Text the word "and," ANN, at 55678, and we'll send you a copy of the 6 Keys to Riches, which I'm building all 5 businesses on that principle. But also you can go to my website at annmcneil.com. And I like to take a page out of Ursula's book. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Ann McNeil. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you so much, Ann McNeil. Ann McNeil, the master builder. Good stuff. Rhonda, bringing you back in to first of all, let our audience know, how can we stay in touch with Rhonda, number one. But Rhonda, what is some of your biggest takeaways from even this discussion today about your journey, about autosuggestion, about some things that are rising to the surface from you after today's live call? We cannot hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, there you go. Now you're good.
Okay. So the importance of of doing the work.
Yeah.
If you do the work, then it will create we always think, for me, I always feel like I don't have time to do this, I don't have time to do that. But when you're intentional and you do the work, you will again carve away some things in your life that shouldn't be there, and it will create the space that you need to be able to do, and the time and the energy to do the work. So just doing the work is so vital and so important, and the impact that it will have on your life will be immeasurable. Just again, as I say, it's not only helping me in my business, but it's helping me in my spiritual life and in my personal life. So it has definitely been, life changing for me.
How do we?
I just want to say that, if I start out having a bad day, I can will myself into a good day just through my conversations with myself, with my inner self.
Yeah. Love that, Rhonda. How do we stay in touch with you, Rhonda? What is the best way that our audience can get in touch with you?
I can be reached at www.wtstevens.com. My email address is rhondag@wtstevens.com.
Good stuff. Thank you so much, Rhonda. You've been such a phenomenal guest. I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing, because one of my biggest takeaways was the depth, as you were describing your story, the depth that you went into to talk about how you needed to eliminate the negativity that may have been persisting for decades in your life. And again, as I mentioned earlier, many of us continue to carry these types of lies, self-limiting beliefs, disempowering beliefs, whatever you want to call them, even to this day. And those of you who are watching in our audience, what does that look like for you? And what lies are you telling yourself that you've been carrying for years? One of the things that Anne McNeil said also is that, it's easy for our minds to really embrace negativity. And the word she used was skepticism. So now, through autosuggestion, how are you programming your mind to eliminate those natural thoughts? How are you programming your mind to and for the next level? And then lastly, who is holding you accountable? And if you don't have anyone to hold you accountable, dive in and reach out to the Think and Grow Rich accountability meetings here, so that you can begin to surround yourself with individuals who are on the same trajectory that you desire to be. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the High Performance Coach. And you can reach me at Dr. Peter A. James. That's at DrPeterAJames on any social media platform, or at shiftyourmindset.com. This has been another episode of the Think and Grow Rich Mastermind Live. And if you haven't figured out by now, we are reflecting and we are holding each other accountable as well. And we desire to do the same for you. We look forward to seeing you same time next week, same channel. And we'll also look forward to hearing from you in the midst of this week as well. Until that time, please remain safe, and we'll see you soon. Take care.